welcome to Good News on Entertainment. So happy you were tuning in tonight. I'm your host, Carley Boyette. Tonight we begin with a partnership between Great American Pure Flix and an organization called Prison Fellowship. Through this partnership, they are streaming inspiring stories of redemption and second chances. On this newly released series, you're going to see some powerful testimonies, specials, and short films centered around incarcerated individuals encountering Christ and successfully rebuilding their lives. And here to explain a lot more about the Prison Fellowship organization and what they're all about is Heather Rice-Minus, the president and CEO of Prison Fellowship.
If you're not dead, God's not done. And until you believe that, you'll live like a dead man walking. You got a born day and a death day, and if you're lucky, you'll get 80 years, but it's only 80 years. What is 80 years compared to eternity? Holy Spirit, would you use us for the men who don't know you here, would they come to know you, would consider the truth. We love you. In Jesus' name. 1, 2, 3. Ho!
It's a mission to make disciples of these men. These men are very, very hungry to learn and are seeking God. To be able to witness firsthand the change in these men's lives, it's just it's such a blessing to be able to see that.
Oh, Heather, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
I was telling you before we got started, I'm a huge fan of documentaries, and when we can really hear these people's stories, and this is what you do on a daily basis, though. So explain what the Prison Fellowship organization is, what it is that you guys do.
Sure. So we are the nation's largest Christian nonprofit serving people in prison and people who work there, as well as their families and as people come home from prison. And then we're also a leading advocate for justice. And so we've been around for 50 years now, doing this work to bring hope in some of the darkest places around the country.
And what better way than, again, to have a docu-series out like that? It's going to take, I think, some time to really highlight these people's stories, what you guys do. I mean, talk about the blessing of having that platform to really have the time, to do this.
Yes. I think so many hearts and minds I have seen change because of getting proximate to people who are impacted by incarceration. And what a blessing to be able to share some of those stories more broadly, thanks to the partnership we have with Great American Media and PureFlix. And so I really hope people will take the time to tune in. And the docuseries is following 5 lives, people who are in prison or coming home, and just documenting what challenges they have, what their hopes are, what their dreams are. And I think that everyone can find something within the series that resonates with them personally. And also, our hope and prayer is that as people think about their own challenges, sometimes we have a hard time praying and thinking that the Lord can forgive us, right, for certain things. And what you'll see in this series is that God is meeting people in some of the most rock bottom circumstances and helping them step into new purpose. And if he can do that through people in prison, he can and does do it through all of us if we open our hearts to the Lord. And so we hope that it brings hope to everyone, no matter what your personal connection to incarceration may be.
And the biggest way that people encounter God and Jesus is through other people, right? People who can be the hands and feet of Jesus and be those helpers. So talk about what it is when you guys are stepping into these prisons. And again, that's incredible to be one of the largest, in the country to do this. What is it that you're doing? Explain some of the work that and I guess the other thing is too, you must have a trusted kind of relationship with these prisons. How easy is it to get in, and do this work?
Yes, it has taken, a lot of decades of building trust with departments of corrections across the country. And we're so grateful. Just this last weekend, I was actually out in Oklahoma City at a women's prison that we were able to host a special Hope event in honor of Mother's Day. And we had 700 women join us on the yard of the prison for worship from Life Church, our partners at Life Church. And we shared testimonies of some of the women who were incarcerated in that very system who are now home, reunited and reconciled to their families, going on to serve in ministry. And so it was just such an uplifting time. And in fact, there was one woman who had never been to prison before, but had been supporting Prison Fellowship for over a decade, who came with us. And on the way out, she just had tears streaming down her face. And she said, Heather, the one word that describes how I feel is just humbled, because I don't know that I've seen the gospel have that kind of impact on the church outside ever. And she said, I could just see Jesus walking among these women during this Hope event that we hosted. So that's an example of something we do, is events like that on the yard. But the beautiful thing is we don't just have one-time events. We actually have really deep programming. Our Prison Fellowship Academy is in that facility. We have intensive programming at over 200 prisons across the country. And that's where people get a chance to really unearth what brought them there, and step into new purpose. Our recidivism rate from the Prison Fellowship Academy, based on a study in Texas, shows less than 6% recidivism, which is a 50% reduction compared to the match group of people with similar
And
history.
explain what that is, what that word is, and what that means.
Yes. So recidivism is the rate at which people come back to prison.
Okay.
And the rate nationally is not so great. Like, majority of people are coming back to prison after they leave. And what they really need is time inside where they get a chance to delve into the issues that brought them there. And that's what the Prison Fellowship Academy does. And so grateful to have that evidence that shows that this is working in practical terms, but it's also working in eternal terms, right? We also have a program to help wardens think about, how do you be a transformational leadership? And so our warden exchange has been going for over a decade. And we've had 800 graduates of that program. We also recognize that people sometimes come home, they can't find a job, they can't find housing. And so we have a small team that does public policy and advocacy, and trying to advance reforms that will bring about a more restorative approach to the justice system. And then finally, I would say people don't do time in isolation. Their families do it with them. And a recent study showed 1 in 2 Americans actually have or had a family member who's been behind bars. And so this is deeply felt by all Americans, whether they talk about it or not. A lot of times we don't talk about it because there's stigma associated with it. But our Prison Fellowship Angel Tree program helps connect kids who have an incarcerated mom or dad to them through a Christmas gift. And we say it starts with a present, which, thanks to 5,000 church partners across the country, we're able to deliver a present on behalf of that mom or dad at Christmas time. But it can grow into a ministry of presence as churches come alongside those families throughout the year as well.
What's the response inside the prisons? When you're bringing the gospel, you're bringing these different, opportunities for them. I mean, is there a hunger for it? I mean, a lot of us aren't going to be in the middle of that. So kind of describe what the reaction is.
It's unreal. You just can't imagine the hunger that there is for the Lord behind bars. And I saw it this last weekend, a chance for people to respond to the gospel message, and hundreds of hands went up, and women just crying out to God as they worship and asking for prayer. And I'm sitting also next to a woman who's got a 1-year-old daughter, she tells me, and she's listening to the testimony of one of our staff who's sharing about how she was once incarcerated there. And as she's listening, she says, I can't wait to tell my story one day. And so in other words, like, I'm picturing how God is going to transform my life. I'm going to get out. I'm going to be the mom I want to be. I'm going to be a good citizen, and I'm going to be following the Lord. And so you just see such hunger and desire to change from so many men and women that we serve inside. And what a privilege to come alongside them. I mean, I tend to say, you want to see and encounter Jesus in a fresh way, let me take you to prison. And it's something that happens to those of us who get the chance to visit and serve.
So beyond the events, is there things that can help encourage them grow in their walk? I mean, because I'd imagine, if you're limited in resources while behind bars, how do you guys help with that as they want to grow?
Exactly. So what I love is that we don't just have these one-time events. We actually use those as a launching pad into our ongoing programming. And so I had multiple women come up to me who have actually been a graduate at that prison from the Prison Fellowship Academy. And that's a year-long program. It's 500 hours of curriculum. And so we have a full-time staff person who goes into that prison to coach and mentor and facilitate those courses. And then we have volunteers who graciously come in and give of their time at night as well to meet with these women and men at facilities across the country. And so we always want there to be an ongoing ministry of presence and discipleship, so that it's not just a one-time, response to the gospel, but an ongoing walk with the Lord.
So do a lot of people, can they try to get their church involved and do it as a group? Can you just do it by yourself?
Yes. So many ways to get involved. A lot of times, the first way our church partners get involved is through Prison Fellowship Angel Tree. And so I know Christmas seems far away, but it's not for us at Prison Fellowship. We're already thinking about Christmas because we have 275,000 children who are signed up to the program every year. And so we need every church partner to sign up and help and essentially take on kids who are right there in your local community who have a mom or dad behind bars and deliver a gift on their mom or dad's behalf. Or some churches host Christmas parties and have the kids come to pick up their gifts. So that's a great way to get started, is to register for Prison Fellowship Angel Tree. We also have opportunities to volunteer inside prison at the academy or our GROW programs. And then we also have opportunities to be trained to be a justice ambassador, to actually advocate for justice reforms at the state or federal level. And so all of those volunteer opportunities can be found on prisonfellowship.org. And I hope someone listening today will think about what their next step might be.
So what's your take home? Again, you kind of mentioned there is a stigma. I think we're all probably guilty of it at some one point or another, but what do you want people to really realize about this community and the need that I think we all can take a part in, and again, being the hands and feet of Jesus?
That's right. The biggest takeaway for me personally has been just reading Matthew 25 with fresh eyes and thinking about how Jesus says, I was in prison and you came to visit me. Sometimes I think I've read that as a duty, like I have a duty to reach out to these vulnerable populations that Christ outlines in that chapter. But the more time I spend in prison, the more I start to see how alive and vibrant and hungry followers of Jesus are behind bars. And so I think the surprising thing I would say to people is God is alive and well, even in the darkest places like prison. And there's actually something we as believers on the outside can learn from the church inside. And so I hope folks will watch the docu-series and capture just a glimpse of that hope, and that it'll give them hope in their own walk with the Lord.
And it's so exciting, some of the stories that I've seen of the lives. And I mean, there was one, I saw a preacher, an inmate that had then turned into a preacher and it's just the coolest thing to see what God is doing, as far as redemption in these people's lives. I mean, I think it's going to get people fired up.
Yes, I have a front row seat to it all the time. And more people need to join and watch and come and see what the Lord is doing.
Oh, well, thank you so much for taking some time with me. Again, if anyone wants to get involved, or where would you send them?
prisonfellowship.org. You can check out the volunteer opportunities. There are lots of information about our various programs, prisonfellowship.org.
Well, God bless. Keep doing what you're doing. And I hope to check in with you again. And I just hope God continues to open the door for your organization to help, get the message, the gospel. He is a redeemer, and I love it. So thank you so much for everything that you have done.
Thank you so much for having me.
Again, you can find these inspiring stories streaming now on Great American PureFlix. The series is called Restoring Hope, and there is a documentary called The Power of a Second Chance. Meanwhile, Heather also told me they are working on a partnership with The Chosen as well, so they can have that series available to inmates across the nation as well. Pretty remarkable. More on that in the months ahead. All right, next up, I want to give you an update on a film that some of you may have missed when it was in theaters. The First Hymn is now streaming on the Wonder Project subscription on Prime Video. You may remember this film is about the discovery of the oldest known hymn with musical notation. It's an Australian-led documentary and stars Ben Fielding and Chris Tomlin. I had a chance to talk with Ben about the discovery and his involvement a few months ago when the film was in theaters, but now that it is available to watch from home, I thought it would be a great time to revisit that conversation. If you don't know, Ben Fielding is a Grammy Award winning songwriter and is behind some of the biggest Christian hits like Goodness of God and What a Beautiful Name. Ben also wrote the certified gold This I Believe, the Creed, which, much like the first hymn, is the translation of an ancient text into a modern worship song.
Archaeologists had no idea what they'd uncovered. An 1800-year-old Christian hymn, the first to be discovered with words and music.
It's not even a page, really. It's just 30 centimetres by 5 centimetres.
We're on a historical and musical journey, from the sands of Egypt to America's music capital, from Australian creative spaces to English thinking spaces, to resurrect a song the world hasn't sung for almost 2 millennia.
I am so honored to be brought into this.
America's Chris Tomlin, Australia's Ben Fielding.
But this is such an exciting project.
Working with Nashville's finest and time-tested traditions to recreate an ancient song and give it back to the world. Welcome to the First Hymn Project.
So take us back to the beginning when you first heard of this. And I can't imagine as a songwriter yourself. I mean, this just mean, I mean, it must have sounded like heavenly gold. I would imagine of like, oh my goodness, like what do we have here?
Yeah, so I sat down with a good friend of mine, Dr. John Dixon, and he was back in Australia visiting, and we got coffee, and he said to me, "Look, I've got a project for you." And he told me that he had been at Oxford University looking through some of their archaeological discoveries and came across this little piece of papyrus that had some lyrics on it from an early song and some musical notation. And he said, "We believe this is the first ever discovered Christian hymn from about the 3rd century." And he said it's a Trinitarian hymn. And he started to tell me some of the lyrics from the ancient Greek. And he said, your job is to try to bring that song back to life so that the modern church could sing the very same words that the church was singing back in the 3rd century.
That sounds like a big job. What say you? Obviously, you did it.
Yeah, well, you have this sort of mix of emotions because, as you said, like as a songwriter, like I've given like most of my adult life to trying to write songs, modern hymns, hymns for the church to sing. I fell in love with the music that we sing in church when I was a little kid, and they really unlocked so much of my theology and taught me so much about who God was. So when John put that in front of me and said, "Look, we've got one of the first ever discovered hymns," that to me as a musician, as a songwriter, was an electric kind of proposal. But then at the same time, you have this sort of sense of it's a daunting task to try to honor what the original hymn writers were, or hymn writer, we don't really know, was trying to communicate, and what that song might have been doing in the early church. And certainly when you start to dig a little bit more into the history of what was happening in the church in the 3rd century, this is before the Nicene Creed, before the Council of Nicaea, and before the church really was unified around those sort of core statements of belief. You've already got the church in the 3rd century singing a Trinitarian hymn, and so there's unity that you can see is coming into the church and around and through the musicians and the songwriters in the church. And I think today we're not too far away from that. As in, you look at all of the things that could divide us through the church, and yet we're often singing a lot of the same songs. And so our worship and the theology that we express through songs, like it was in the 3rd century, I think today is still bringing the church back together in unity.
Oh, I love that. What has the reaction been like? Because you guys have had a chance, to sing together live. What's the response been like? What has that been for you, as well?
Yeah, I mean, super encouraging because, of course, you still, as a songwriter, you do your best. You hope your instincts over the years have kind of been sharpened, but you never really know how a song is going to reach people and how it's going to hit people when it does. And I think particularly a song that has been written with the purpose for, allowing and empowering the church to sing. That really is the litmus test, is whether people can pick it up and sing it and whether they want to. And so the first time Chris and I actually played this song live, was in Texas. He was doing a night in Dallas, actually in Fort Worth, and so I flew in, and there was about 12,500 people in the room, and that was the first time we'd ever sung the song live. And so again, you have this feeling of excitement, going, this we've worked so hard for this, and we really believe in the project, but you just don't know until you do it. And then to look out and see people catch on straight away to this modern version of this hymn. And, at the end of the song, sort of Chris brought it back down and we went back into the bridge, which I think is sort of the culmination of the original hymn lyric where it says, to our God, the only giver of all good gifts, we sing our hymn. Amen. And so that's basically the lyric of the bridge. And we came down and the whole room was just singing it back to us. And at that point, I sort of had chills and I looked at Chris and we were both like, there's a chance that we might have been able to do what we set out to do. And that's, give this hymn back to the modern church.
For people like myself that are not, I love live music. I love singing, but I can't sing a lick. This is not my guitar. It's my husband's guitar. But explain what it is that you had, how much of the words, the lyrics, and was there, because there was actually notes, you had a little bit of guidance, right? Just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's about they think about 80% of the original lyric was still intact. And it was discovered in basically like a ancient Egyptian dumpster, essentially. There was a whole lot of other documents that were all and they'd been compressed over, hundreds and hundreds of years. And because they'd been so compressed, they had been preserved. And so when they went through this dumpster, they were pulling out, corn contracts. Apparently, John said there's a wrestling contract for some ancient wrestling match that was to take place. And then sitting amongst all of these documents is our hymn. 80% of the lyric was intact. And there was an ancient music notation, which musicologists have been able to put on modern staves. So we could sort of play along with the original melody, the part that we had. And we tried to use some of those motifs, and in fact, they weave sort of through the musical production. But I said to John at the time, I was like, how much of that original melody do you think we should try to use? Like, give me any context you've got. And he said to me something that really kind of stuck with me and Chris during the writing process. He said that the original hymn was written in what they think was basically like tavern music, like a pub song of the day. And so this original hymn writer or hymn writers, they had decided that they wanted to put these important lyrics, this theology that was so central to the belief of early Christians, they wanted to put it to music that was readily accessible so that people that would walk into church or into whatever meeting this song was being sung would kind of recognize the melodic structure and they'd be able to quickly jump on and sing along. And so that gave me this confidence, and John really encouraged us in that to say, look, don't be bound by trying to take just the original melody and use it where you can. And we did. But really feel free to try to take the melody and create something that modern, people that are walking into church will go, oh, I can catch where this melody's going. So the idea is that it's accessible, that we can sing it. And I hope that in doing that, we've kind of honored the intention of those original hymn writers.
What did God kind of teach you in this season, as you've kind of discovered and probably I'd imagine you probably learned new things. What did you kind of learn in the process of this spiritually?
Yeah, well, I think that there was quite a lot of moments where you really get a lot of things put into perspective where, looking at the history of that early church period, that 3rd century where the church was under a lot of persecution. To be a Christian in the 3rd century in Rome was not a pleasant thing. The church was, it was not easy to be a believer. So you have that context, and then you have also internally, the church was quite fractured, quite divided. And as I said, this is before the Council of Nicaea, where there was a real intent to try to bring the church together on some core doctrine. You had like a lot of division within the church, you had a lot of persecution externally. And yet these early Christians are singing with confidence that our God is the only giver of all good gifts. They had this radical kind of belief in the goodness of God, uh, and and so I sort of look at that and I go, well, we've got it pretty good these days in comparison, and if they could sing with such certainty about the character of God, how much more can we? Um, and then the other thing that's really resonated with me throughout this whole process is there's a scene actually in the documentary where there's a archaeologist who specializes in sort of ancient Egyptian ruins, and she says you can tell when Christians entered Oxyrhynchus, this part of ancient Egypt, because the people started being buried such that their head was facing to the east, so that you could tell they had this belief that in the second coming of Jesus, that one day on the return of Christ, they wanted to be facing in the right direction. And so that they can date basically when Christians entered this area. And I thought to myself, wow, like these early Christians had this real belief in the resurrection, that God, the God that we're worshiping, the God they were worshiping, is the sort of God that brings dead things back to life. And so to think that their hymn that was dead and buried there in the sands of Egypt, that self has been brought back to life nearly 2,000 years later. That's a phenomenal thing. And then it makes me think for us as believers, the things that maybe we think are dead and buried, the things that we've maybe given up hope to pray for or to believe for, whether it's things in our families or our churches, in our communities. Hopefully this hymn's just it's a word of encouragement that God is in the habit of bringing dead things back to life, that he's able to do it, and he's been doing it well before we were here, and his people can testify it throughout the generations.
Amen. Oh, I love it. I love it. Ben, thank you so much for your time and kind of give us, a little peek at what people can expect and kind of the backstory too of this. What a treat to get some time with you. And I just want to thank you too on behalf of the church community on the songs that you've helped bring to life for churches to sing all across the globe. And I think that's just the coolest part, that when we can sing songs that remove us from our United States bubble and again, just put things into perspective, something like this first hymn is going to do as well. So Ben, just thank you so much for everything you do for the church, for believers and non-believers, helping people know God more.
Thanks very much. I appreciate that. And thanks for the opportunity to be with you today. It's great.
To the only giver of all good gifts, amen. To the only one who forgives our sins, amen. To the only God, to the risen King, to the one who died and rose again, amen. We sing, amen.
Again, the first hymn is now streaming on the Wonder Project streaming channel, which you can find on Prime Video. Well, that's all for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Carley Boyette, and if you have any questions about what you saw tonight or anything on CTN recently, just go to ctnonline.com. Meanwhile, I look forward to seeing you next week right here on your Christian Television Network.